we have with us today Miss Robbie Love. Hello, Robbie.
Hi, guys.
Yeah, it's so good to have you today. You know, we've been working so hard at the George Semper Music Archive to get the story, the broader story. Your mother, Mary Love, was someone that worked with George. That amazing track they did, for example, More Love, with your mom back in the early 70s. And so today we're going to talk about you. A lot of people are really interested in you, Robbie, and we know you're around, you're doing your thing. And thank you so much for telling us more about it.
Miss Robbie Love. Got my name from my mom, Miss Mary Love, internationally known to rock that microphone. Yes. And wow, how I got into music. I was born in the music.
Yes, you were.
I was born when I was born, you know, my mom was already singing professionally, you know, so I was born in it.
So tell us about that. Tell us about some of your experiences growing up, having an entertainer for a mother, a creative person for a mother. What was that like?
Well, as we spoke before, you know, my first time ever in a studio, I was 2 weeks old, you know, and I slept through the whole session until the music stopped. My mom said I woke up when the music stopped. Go figure that, you know. Wow, it was just, you know, Joel, it was normal. It was, I mean, you know what I mean? It was normal. I mean, my mom, she cooked us dinner and, you know, and came outside and played softball with us, and then the next minute she was on stage with the Whispers, you know, when it was only 3 of them, you know what I mean? And so like my brothers and I are in the audience just acting a fool, man. We're like screaming and crying and covering our eyes and ears, and they called us backstage, and one of the twins, they looked down at me. He said, "Why are you crying? Your mom's getting down." I was like, wow, I'll never, ever forget that, you know. So, but our experience as children growing up in this industry was really kind of amazing, because there was just nothing but music and musicians and entertainers always around us. And like I said, it was normal. It was literally normal. You understand what I mean? And so by the time my brothers and I, we got older, we finally realized that we were living in a rock and roll household.
I mean, rock and roll household. I love it.
You know what I mean? So that's why I said it was normal, because we had to really realize that what would be considered normal for someone else would be, it was actually not normal for us, you know, which we considered it to be. So yeah, it's amazing.
Well, I think that's awesome. I mean, you know, we talked a lot before about, you know, being creative people in a creative household, whereas now that's very normal. But our parents were like programmers of today or graphic designers of today. You know, they were just dealing with audio. And so we grew up in these sort of creative environments that were different then. People didn't always understand, or your mom doesn't go to a factory, or she doesn't go to the county to work, or, you know, it's just making records. And I remember a story you told me about, you know, you woke up when the music stopped, not when it started in the studio when you'd be asleep, right?
Right. Yeah. I woke up when it stopped. I was like, really? You know, I said, yeah, I can see that though. I can see that, because it's just ingrained in me, man. You know?
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about George Semper, my father, and you know, the memories you have of George and you know, first meeting George.
Wow, Joel, you know what? Whenever I think of your dad, I think of this one night we were all in a studio at Cliff Studios in Culver City, right? And we used to spend the night in this studio because it was a big production going on. And so when my mom said, we're going to the studio in the evening, my brothers and I, we grab a pillow and blanket and would, you know, take to the studio with us, because we knew it was going to be an all-nighter. And all I remember your dad behind the boards. They're just mixing and mastering, and he was always serious looking. You know, I was a kid, you know what I mean? So, and he's a big adult, the big guy, you know, and just always, and he's just all over the place. And your dad was a multifaceted person. He wasn't just a musician or a writer. He had his hands in everything. So George was really eclectic and eccentric in that way, and multifaceted, and was amazing for everyone that was around him. He was just an amazing person, you know, because of that. you know. So yeah, I just remember your dad just all over the place, you know. And every time I think about him, I think about that night. And I do think that I told you More Love is the very first recording that I've ever recorded in my life. So your dad played a major part in my beginning, because he mixed and mastered that stuff, and he was there producing and making sure that it was right. So when I really stop and think about it, I'm like, wow, you know, he was really there at the beginning of what would be considered my professional career. I got paid for that gig too.
Right. You know, George is famous for that. George, you know, we always like say he's the most famous, unfamous producer, writer, label owner, promoter you've ever met, because he started so many people in their career. You know, to add to that, Robbie, something a lot of people don't know. Do you know who gave Frank Zappa his first show in San Diego, opening for Little Richard at Ward's Jazzville? I
had no idea.
George Semper. And so many people, that's one of the things that's resonated from like Sam Cooke to like, it's unbelievable, you know, the number of people. So that's also very characteristic of George. And it's interesting hearing you speaking, because, you know, back in the day, you know, they would say you're eccentric and you're this and that. Now you're just a geek, or you're just a nerd, you know, you're a music nerd, you know? And so he kind of was, because, you know, Pop had the technical skills and those boards and stuff, you know, it was no joke. I mean, audio was first engineering. Do you think that session, tell me about that session when they recorded More Love. Tell me about that.
Wow. The actual day, well, we went different days, you know, it just wasn't just one day, but I remember the day that I laid my vocals down. It was in the afternoon. It was still in the daytime. I remember that. And I remember going in the booth, you know, putting the headphones on, and I was just so in awe that they considered me, you know, at such an early age to sing the background vocals on this song, you know. It was just really an amazing feeling, you know, and it didn't take long. They call me one track, because I lay it down, I'll lay those parts down, and that's it, you know. And so when I was done, everyone was so impressed, you know, and happy, and it made me feel good, because I'm around David Townsend, which is the guitar player, the son of Ed Townsend. Basie Green, Bob Farrell, you know, my mom, your dad, you know, Michael Stevenson. And wow, it was so many musicians and entertainers around, and they were just so like happy with the work that I did, you know. And then my mom, she paid me. I'll never forget that. And she said, "You're a professional now." And I was like, wow, you know, it was just, wow, it was, I'll never, I got paid, you know. And so, and then the accolades and the you know, the applause from those cats, it was everything to me, you know. So
how old were you, Robbie?
Wow.
How old were you?
I believe I was 12 years old.
That's starting early. It's in your DNA, right? Tell us about, so after you worked on that with More Love, you know, that record was very well received, and a lot of people don't realize how powerful of a record that was as a bridging between funk and disco. It was really amazing as a almost like a boogie disco, boogie funk. Like that song actually gets categorized different ways, and it's a it's a little known track, but everyone that hears it is just blown away. And that's like one of the tracks that I would love to reissue from your mom's material, you know, and that's something that we got to try to make happen. Everybody watching, you go help us make it happen by supporting the George Semper Music Archives and Robbie Love. You hear me? So we're going to have Robbie on the flip side of the single now. So
right now,
tell us about that. You know, tell us about, you know, when your teenage years and your early adult years, life with mom and what mom was up to and what that was like.
All my life, my mom has been about that music. All my life, you know, everything she did was about the music, you know, about singing. And I think the reason was because she had something to say, you know what I mean? More than just singing a song, she had something to say. And so she stayed very active in it all of my life. till the end of her life, you know. But growing up with her, man, going to, you know, all these concerts and these different functions that she was involved in. She was with David I. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He's a saxophone player, played with all the Motown greats. David I, they had a David I and the Love I Orchestra. And my mom was in the Love I Orchestra. It was a 19-piece orchestra. And I never forget the first time I saw her singing with this orchestra. She was singing Send in the Clowns and these jazz standards. It was just amazing. It was so amazing. You know, wow. I mean, like, I'm like, look at this woman. Wow.
Yeah.
Is there anything that she can't do? You know?
Musically, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, she's amazing being.
Some people checking in, Robbie, not to cut you off. I just want to interject this part. Some people don't know the songs your mom is most famous for. Can you tell us like the top 3 or 4 songs your mom is most known for?
Wow. Born to Live with Heartache. You Turn My Bitter into Sweet. Baby, I'll Come. Wow. Good grief. That's just some of the circular music that she recorded. Oh, wow, that's really a trip. I'm trying to think. My mom was recording.
There's so many for Mary Love. You know,
Hey Stone.
Yeah, so people triggers and people say, "Oh wow, oh my gosh, you know Mary Love," because she was so powerful in the background, and even in her own career, but sort of like different times in her career in terms of the most influence. She's on a lot of things people never even heard. Like I've heard your mother on commercials, everything.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Yeah. She, you know, she's done Dolomite with Rudy Ray Moore. Yeah. You know, sung that infamous love song in the love scene. That's Mary Love. You know, wow. She's just been all over the place. You know, we grew up in Los Angeles, California. So my mother pretty much had that circuit sewed up, you know, and it was just an amazing ride. And during the 70s, it was predominantly it was about the bands. It wasn't about DJs and all that dancing, and then, you know, it was about the live bands and the live entertainment. And that's what I grew up in, you know, that part. And I grew up in, of course, in the recording aspect of it too, but the ongoing part of that thing was all about the live music. And that's the part that I love too, you know, about being around all those musicians and entertainers that were around my mom, is because I got a chance to really see some real players play instead of just being on the just recording aspect of it, which is cool too, you know. But I was around real musicians, Joel, you know, like your dad and all those cats, man. Yeah, so I was,
difference. I mean, the feel for live, and we were talking about that now in terms of like with the George Semper Music Archive, you know, transferring these reels, and when we're talking about remastering, which we're not going to remaster, we're going to take as much from the actual tape as we can. But when we have to, our engineer having a sound for live music, it's a whole nother ballpark. And so you're right, you know, the nuance of live music is amazing. And you know, you were talking about musicians, and you were talking about regional. And back in those days, a lot of people don't know, when you're talking about the bands were more famous, say, than DJs. Like now they have EDC and they got all this stuff going on. And it's global. Back in those days, it was regional. You know, people were in the West Coast, you know, San Francisco, LA, San Diego. And even then that was like a stretch. And your mother was very famous regionally. You grew up out here in California, right? Your mom grew up in Sacramento. And I think for your mom, music was such a savior for her, because it was such a big part of what enabled her to get through her challenges of her youth. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the challenges your mom went through as a younger person?
Absolutely. She would absolutely want me to tell her story. You know, my mom grew up the ward of the California Youth Authority. So she grew up in and out of foster homes. She would run away from the foster homes, you know, because of the bad conditions. You know, you can pretty much let your imagination run wild, you know, with what she had to deal with. I mean, she really had a hard childhood, you know, and the one thing that she could really do was sing. So when she, you know, got an opportunity then someone really, you know, liked her and what she was doing. She took it and ran with it, you know, and I'm so glad she did, Joel, you know, because
yes, me too.
Music, yeah, it really was a savior for her because of what she went through, and then what she ended up becoming was so amazing. I'm just so very proud of her for that, because she could have easily just crumbled up and gave up. You know what I mean? She didn't. It was just like a champion for people that have to go through things. You know, you don't have to stay stuck in a rut. You know, you fight as hard as you can to get out of it. And you use everything that you can within your abilities of what you got, your resources to rise above that, you know. And it's unfortunate because as children, it's not our faults. You know, we're subject to parents, you know, they're still learning too. So, you know, it's not, you know what I mean? So it may seem unfair.
When you have young parents. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, she had it rough, you know, as a child, but you know, she came out strong, you know, and I'm so happy she did, man.
Yeah. So who discovered your mom? Talk about who discovered your mom. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we could talk a little bit about that. Let me go back a little bit. When she was 17 years old, she went hanging out with some friends at a nightclub, and they had an open mic night. So of course everybody's egging her, you know, to get on stage and do something, you know. So she got up there, and I can't remember what song she sung, but she got up there and sung, and she told me after that, the club owner came up to her and said, hey, he said, I like the way you sing. I like what you're doing. He said, would you like a job? And she was like, yeah, you know, and he said, I'll pay you such and such and such a week. She's like, yeah. She said from that point, it took off from there, you know. So as far as really who discovered her, I can't really pinpoint like one person. You understand, as far as who discovered her and did this or whatever. But I do know this. The name Love came from Hal Davis of Motown.
Wow.
Because Mark Gordon of Motown was my mom's manager, and he was the 50 Mentions manager at the same time. So they kind of took my mom under their wing and gave her the name Love, which was very appropriate for her too. And because she was a very loving, wonderful person. And so from that point, you know, she started recording. She did Baby I'll Come, which was written by Ashford and Simpson.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah, they did a lot of writing. A lot of folks don't know how prolific their writing is.
Yeah. Wow. Yes, absolutely. They wrote a couple of tunes for my mom. And so when the Motown deal went sour, Hal Davis secured her a deal with Modern Records. And so kind of from that point on, she started becoming known around the industry. And that's how she started evolving more and more, and ended up, you know, delving into all these different projects and with all these different producers and entertainers. Her song, Born to Live with Heartache, that she wrote, I didn't know that Ray Charles, he engineered that song.
Wow, that's interesting.
No idea. But let me tell you this though, Joe, when I was a little girl, we used to go to Ray Charles' studio. I didn't know it was his studio at the time, but as we got older, we would ride by there, right? And so I would always see this building. And so I asked my mom, I said, Mom, whose building is that? I remember going there before. She said, oh, that's Ray Charles's recording studio. That's where he engineered my song, Born to Live with Heartache. I was thrown. I was about 13 or 14 at that time, and I knew who Ray Charles was, you know. But now, now you tell me.
You know, that's how my father met my mom. He was actually sitting in as Ray Charles' organist. I can't remember who he was sitting in for at the Moulin Rouge. And actually that night, there wasn't a big attendance at that show, but he stayed on with Ray, and he kept playing with Ray. And then that's how he met, Charles Amy and, you know, Mary Clayton, because, you know, Mary Clayton was a Raylette. And so that was how, you know, my dad sort of like met them. But Ray Charles touched so many artists, and a lot of folks don't know what he did sort of behind the scene for artists as well. And then your mom, perfect example of that also.
Yes, absolutely. You know, and you know, with so many things that she's done, Joe, I'm still learning. You
Yeah,
know,
sure.
because as she was going along, she's so busy trying to provide a good world for us. She's not, oh, by the way, this and no, by the way, that. And I understand that. And then as kids, we didn't really care. We were just, she's home, and that's all that mattered to us. You know what I mean? So right. I'm still learning about my mom, and I'm really loving it too, because it's like, these, brand new things that I'm learning is so fresh, and it just blows my mind that she really, really has a wonderful track record.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There are so many credits to Mom. I'm even updating stuff all the time as I find it, and just all these little nugget archives of her work and credits and stuff like that. How did she? Let's talk about Mom's, later life and sort of later career. Like, what was she doing like in her later life, Robbie? Was she going around? Because I know I have this picture of your mom. I think you shared it with me, or I found it maybe on your Facebook, where it's in the whole Northern Soul movement. She's in England. And I can't remember what she's at. She's singing. It seems like she's a little bit later in her career too, or a little bit past mid-career around that time. Tell us about that late career.
That picture that you saw is her live in Cleethorpes, England. And she used to fly there, quite a bit for their Northern Soul weekenders that they would have. So she did a lot of concerts, in England. She's so large over there. They love her. But her later career, she delved into a little disco. Let's see. And then she became an ordained minister in the late 80s. Yeah, she became an ordained minister, and she gave her life to Christ because she had a little problem, in the 80s when, the crack cocaine hit town.
Everyone did, right?
Yeah. And the reason why I don't have a problem with sharing this is because she shared it with everyone. Her testimony was transparent. She just wanted to be an inspiration to someone to say, hey, I made it, just like she did when she was a kid, and she made it through that. So she had a little stint with it, but she was still active in her music, recording, with my dad. And then when her and my dad divorced, she remarried with Bradford Comer, and they became Co-Love Records. And so they did a lot of different recordings in the secular world. And then the ministry, they transitioned into gospel. And so my mom now has a large gospel catalog as well that is well known in Europe as well, and here too, but predominantly.
Your mom is very popular in Europe, as you said. In the UK, your mom's considered like one of the queens of Northern Soul, which is like pretty impressive. That's huge. So. Yeah. So she, like I said, she stayed active, but when she became an ordained minister, she started recording gospel music, and then she also started going full force in the ministry as far as, going out and ministering and doing different things, with Christianity. But yeah, she's been doing it forever, man. Forever. She really didn't stop. She kept going until her last breath. That is amazing, Robbie. And I know you and I have talked a lot about this. My father was kind of similar in that, although he was in Trinidad, he was still making music, and the whole plan there was actually to build the studio in Trinidad, and that would be his requirement, and be able to bill out, work with local regional artists, because he was still doing. And let's talk a little bit about that, Robbie. Let's talk a little bit about the last part of Mom's life, and her demise, and just where was she? Where was your mom? Towards the end of her life, where was she living? And tell us about that.
She was living in Lancaster, California, towards the last part of her life. For about maybe 5 or 6 years. My mom and Bradford Comer had divorced, and they closed their church down, which was called New Judah Christian Fellowship in Moreno Valley, California. She pretty much, she pretty much stayed to herself a lot, towards those last days. It was pretty much her and I a lot. And, of course, my brothers and my children, and the immediate family that was around her. She's pretty much stayed quiet, still recording, not as much as she was before, and not as active, but still active. My mom wrote books. She was a very prolific writer.
Wow.
As well. So she has a lot of writings, a lot of books, writings, and poems and things like that. So she delved a lot more into that aspect of her artistry in her last days. Yeah.
Wow. My mom had done the same. She was writing poetry and writing. I think George is writing as well. We gotta get some of that for the archive, like some of her poems or maybe one of her books. I have a book from George called 40 Acres of Memories. That's about the 40 acres area of San Diego where he grew up. And so it names different stuff. But we're definitely getting your mom's archive collection going, and we're just so excited. You know, everybody loves it. And I want to include also, you know, like your mom's obituary, sort of a little bit about your mom and her passing. When did mom pass? Tell us about that.
She passed away the first day of summer, June 21st, 2013.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
How old was mom?
Yeah, so she was at the time 66 years old. She was just a month short of her 67th birthday.
Okay. Okay. She was young. Okay. She was young. Man,
yeah.
She lived a lot. Mama lived. I tell you, Mrs. Mary Love, and you know, her wisdom and her knowledge of how to live is what we value. We must carry on so much. And you and I, we speak about this sometimes, like how their survivor mentality, love mentality, compassion mentality, they really understood what it was about. And your mom is just right up there, you know, at the very, very top of that, Robbie. And she's touched so many people. It is amazing. And you are the living embodiment of your mom. And you, a lot of people know, but now some people don't know that you have a music career as well. And tell us a little bit about that. Tell us like your band, tell us your group you're in, some of the ones you play with, what you're up to these days. Tell us about that.
Where do I start? Okay. Well, yes, I am. Well, I've been a professional singer since I was 12 years old. So from that point, you know, I was, you know, did a lot of recordings and things. So, but when I got of age, my mom finally released to me, and I did a lot of different recordings for a lot of different producers around, you know, the Los Angeles area. But now, you know, I have a band called Life. I got a couple of bands actually. I'm about to form a unit called Robbie and the Rock Stars. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, I'm writing with Ronald Bell from Kool and the Gang. So we got a little songwriting collaboration team going on right now. So I'm really excited about that. And yeah, man, just, you know, just still hitting stages and trying to stay active, and you know, and wow, also too, I didn't tell you, since the last time we talked, I'm reading for another off-Broadway play.
Nice.
So yeah, it looks like I might be doing another off-Broadway play, so I'll keep you posted on that one.
So tell us about material.
Yeah, so I'm, you know,
any material you really, tell us about that last off-Broadway you were in too. Tell us about that. Some of the performances you've done.
Oh, wow. Let's see. Well, the last off-Broadway play I was in was called God Doesn't Mean You Get to Live Forever. And it was about, I was Reese Noel, an asthmatic pop singer. And it was a lot of fun, Joe, because I was acting, but they had a girl singing too. So, you know, it was my first little stint at acting, and, you know, got my little legs. So it was a lot of fun. And so I guess I did something right, because they said, hey, we want you to read for this new play that we got going on. I'm like, okay, let's go. So yeah, I got that happening. I'm currently recording, like I said, with Ronald Bell, Khalees Bayon from Kool and the Gang. So I got some new music coming up as far as that's concerned. I got you know, when I was a young adult, you know, I have 2 children. So I stayed home with my children. I wasn't as active like my mom was, you know, because when I was growing up, my mom was on the road a lot and I hated it. You know what I mean? Oh, I hated it, Joel. So like when she was home, it was just everything to us. So when I had my children, I'm like, I couldn't. I had so many opportunities to go out and record albums and go on the road and do tours and things, but I couldn't, you know what I mean? I had to stay home with my babies because who was going to make them hot chocolate after they took their baths at night before they went to bed? No one was going to do that. I had to be home to give my baby some hot chocolate,
That's your good mother.
Yeah. So I recorded, I did some things while I was raising my kids, but like I said, I wasn't as active as my mom was because of that. So once,
they were hustlers. Like our parents, like we're soft compared to them. We're like spoiled and soft. They got out there and they made it happen. Like I don't know. Yeah. I told my wife the other day, I was talking about my mother. I said, I don't know what my mom was doing. Like there was some particular period of mom that, we were eating every day. I don't know, but
yeah. But you know what? If you stop and think about it, though, think about the life that they came from. Like my mom. I mean, hey, they came from a place where they really had to hustle and make things happen, and it was, but we got the benefit of that.
That's right.
We definitely got the benefit of that, so we could afford to be spoiled.
That's right. That's right. Tell me, do you have any material out, or tell us about your reverb, or anywhere people can find any of your material that's out right now?
Right now, I tell people to go to YouTube and Google Robbie Love or Robbie Love Live in New York City, because I'm currently living in New York City now. And Reverb Nation, Robbie Love, I'm there. But I will definitely have some new material that I'm recording that's going to be out real soon. So I'll keep you posted on that. But if you want to see me live, you can go on YouTube. I'm there.
That's great. You rock it too. Don't be so modest. Your live shows are dope. I can't remember the one you're singing, and it's more like a rock style music. I think you guys are in the Village, and like shredding it. You told me the other day, you were doing some gigs like 2-3 weeks ago. You're so active, and it's so amazing, Robbie. And I can't tell you how grateful that I am to actually have this time with you to talk about your mom, talk about my father. It's just beautiful. And, especially, yes, thank you so much. And you're so gracious. And we know you're doing so much. And we know that you also have a new career that you're going into in terms of, more of your technical education and stuff that you're doing now with that as well. So just to be able to get that time in is just so fabulous. And I thank you so much. Do you have anything you want to add in, or anything we missed?
Wow. I think we pretty much covered quite a bit,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I don't have anything I want to add, but I do want to say I do appreciate everything that you're doing. I really do. And I appreciate you calling me that day. And I was just so like, wow, George Semper's son. Because we just never cease to amuse me, like, wow. I'm so grateful for the life that my mom gave me, man. And that, I do want to add that. It was a wonderful life. And I'm just going to try my best to keep her legacy going. Like I said, I'm doing some things that I want to do a documentary about her life. So, you're definitely involved in that. And, but I'm just keeping the legacy going, Joe, keeping it going. And so is my daughter and my son. We're keeping it going, man.
That's great. Do you want to share with us a little bit more about them and like what they're working on too, about your kids?
Well, my son Jason is he's a rapper and a writer and a producer. I call Kendrick. He's the real Kendrick Lamar.
The real Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, he is so awesome. And my daughter, she doesn't understand. I don't know. Are you hearing an echo?
A really slight one, but we have you for the most part. You're coming across okay. It's not too bad. I can make everything out.
I want to make sure that I'm coming across right.
You are no misrepresenting the children. You're just 100. Like, so.
Yeah, and my daughter is Jeanette. She has her own band in Los Angeles, so she's she's getting those stages too.
Oh, nice. Does she have a website, or how can we find her?
She's working with a band called A Certain Groove right now. She's pretty fresh, Joel, so she's really starting out, and you know, getting those things together. But I'll keep you posted, you know, as she go along. There's some things I want to tell you about that she's doing as far as getting a recording studio in Los Angeles area too. So
that's
we gotta talk.
Absolutely. We're going to be updating your mom's collection as well on the George Semper Music Archive at George Semper Life /RES. And it's private, but anyone viewing, if you guys would like access, go ahead and hit me up. You can hit up Joel at georgesemper.life and we'll get you a password for the archive. And you can also access Mary Love's amazing, amazing work and amazing, amazing story. And we thank you so much, Robbie, today. You are awesome. And you keep it moving. You are a eternal reflection of light and energy of your wonderful mother. And we thank you so much. And your fabulous mother, Miss Mary Love. Thank you, Robbie.
Thank you. Thank you. You're my family now, right?
Yeah, I've been knowing that. We just finding that out. All right, sister. Well, thank you so much. And we're going to speak to you real soon.
Okay, sweetie pie. You enjoy the rest of your day. It was really nice meeting you.
Thank you. Likewise. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
I learned I eternal love. I learned I wasn't born for spiritual love. I learned that I was born to be loved, to be cared about with all their might. I was born to be cared about, and I was born to be loved. I wasn't born to be broken-hearted. I wasn't born to be mistreated. I wasn't born to be broken-hearted, and I wasn't born to be mistreated. I was born for a higher